hundreds of Palestinians in this city serve the people by saving lives and risking their own life, working pandemic after pandemic. We serve our city and our communities. This council does not serve me or represent me or the hundreds sitting here or the thousands out there. We take an oath, and that oath is to do no harm. And I have to question this council and ask whether you are upholding to your oath. Are you serving this community equally and justly? Week after week, we organize and stand in the cold to address this council, hoping this is the week you find your humanity, hoping this is the week you wake up and speak up against the genocide of the Palestinians, hoping this is the week you sign a ceasefire resolution. But every week you disappoint us. You are the so-called people who represent us, who protect us, the so-called people who are supposed to be our voices, yet you sit here silently and complicitly. We are now 8 days into 2024 and thousands have been slaughtered while you sit here complicitly, you sit here on your phones ignoring us and disregarding us. You do not represent us, you do not represent the people of Cleveland. You sit here cold-heartedly and I question how is it you can be so defected? How can you watch the images of innocent children being bombed day after day, hour after hour? Whether you want to believe it or not, their blood is on your hands, and this council needs to be held accountable, as well as every other council across this nation that refuses to sign a ceasefire resolution. Palestinian lives are not disposable. We are not disposable. How many will be enough for you to recognize us? It was not the 10,000 lives lost in October, but will it be now after 30,000 have been killed in Gaza by a military-crazed government that you support? So I want you to leave here tonight, and I want you to think long and hard about your families, because our families in Palestine are being slaughtered.
Time.
I want you to take it personal, because for us, this
Time.
is personal.
Thank you. Next, we have Summer Hassan from Cleveland to talk about the ceasefire in Gaza, representing no one and being paid by no one. It's Summer Hassan here.
Good evening, Mayor Bibb and Council. I hope you enjoyed your break with your families in your homes with heat and warmth and food and safety. While you decided to celebrate the holiday with your families, Palestine and the rest of the world canceled Christmas and all of their festivities. Despite our constant pleas and explanations, you somehow aren't putting together the idea that if Palestine suffers, we are all suffering. It is so beyond me that this council and mayor have sat on their high horses for weeks while we have come time and time again to demand that you call for a ceasefire. And rather than even actively listening, you have shown that you could care less. Some of you sit on your phones while constituents are speaking. I'm looking at you, Mr. Griffin. While others like to do whatever they can to talk about anything other than the resolution that has been posed 3 separate times. Each and every one of you was elected into these positions and swore to be the advocates for the people of Cleveland, and so your constant dismissiveness and disrespect doesn't seem to be adding up to your job title. Wael Dahdouh, a Gazan reporter, lost his son Hamza, Allah yarhamu, early this week due to Israel's constant bombardment, and not 3 hours later, Wael was again reporting live from Gaza, doing his best to convince you and the rest of the world that this isn't some movie. This is real life, and your blatant ignorance is the fire that's allowing this genocide to continue to be ignited. The people of Gaza and the West Bank have been fighting this occupation for 82 days and 75 years. Again, I repeat, 82 days and 75 years. So this council taking a break makes absolutely no sense to me. A break insinuates that work has been done in the first place. Your constituents have come week after week demanding that you call for a ceasefire. People in the Cleveland community have gone as far as to do your jobs for you and even write the resolution on not 1, but 3 separate occasions. How many times do we have to keep coming back and demand that you do your own jobs? We are all on the same team, working on the same group project, and while we've done the entire project, you aren't even ready to put your own names on it. Mayor Bibb, your entire campaign was run on the idea that you want to make our community a safer, welcoming place. You say you work on initiatives that are supposed to provide systems that ensure food, safety, and shelter, That is what your job is supposed to be. You have already agreed to do your job, so do it. Your job as mayor, if I have to say it 1,000 more times, and as city council members, is to ensure the peaceful progression of your city and its constituents. Beyond that, you're supposed to be representing us. You represent the people of Cleveland, and time again, we have shown up both locally and nationally, carefully explaining to you where we stand. In case I have to say it once again, Cleveland stands with Palestine. You as a council and as the mayor of Cleveland claim to care about your constituents, and some council members have even said they are still learning about the genocide. Well, it's time to put your money where your mouth is and stop putting it in Israel's pocket. We have educated you, and you said you care about your people. So either propose the amendments and pass a resolution, or just pass a resolution we've already proposed and call for a ceasefire. You've got 4 easy steps and 1 common goal, at least we do. Considering we should all already agree that the loss of innocent lives is unacceptable to any capacity, and your goal as city council members is to protect people's necessary items such as food, safety, and shelter. Pass the resolution, call for a ceasefire, free Palestine.
Next we have Cameron Irizarry. She's representing Ward 4, the concerns of Cleveland's citizens, and representing no one and being paid by no one.
I want to start by acknowledging that, yes, we do have 2 council members that have had the bravery to speak up in favor of a ceasefire resolution, but I'm not here to give them that much credit. Because mild statements made in support of returning to the status quo is not the same as supporting the liberation of an oppressed nation. It has been 4 months since the Zionist entity Israel has began a renewed genocidal campaign against Gaza. For those 4 months, you have had the privilege of a proactive community of diverse constituents coming here to implore you to do what you can with the power you hold. For 4 months, you've derided our intelligence, accused us of not being Clevelanders, attempted to change the public comment rules to censor us, and you let Joe Jones go on a South Park-level racist rant against Islamic people, okay? To those of us who have known about the struggle of the Palestinian people for years, to those who were born into that struggle and have no choice but to be involved in this, it was not complicated or difficult to stand up with our neighbors. For you, City Council, a group of college-educated, democratically elected officials, leaders, you've lagged behind not only the entire world, but your own citizens in being progressive on this matter. While the people have given up their time continuously, missing out on work, missing out on money, to come down here and tell you what you should already be knowing, trying to appeal to whatever humanity is left in you, we've been met with insult after insult, whether it's your disinterest, you can't even look at us, you can't even get off your phones. Mayor Bibb only shows up maybe 2 out of 5 times, okay? We've been met with insult after insult. We've got half-ass apologies coming up from Joe Jones talking about, I'm so sorry, but what I've heard from these quote-unquote people he's been collaborating with is that he backed back on his statement that he would introduce the resolution. He said, go get somebody else to do it. We've been met with insult after insult. Mayor Bibb has doubled down on his support for genocide, attending several pro-Zionist events in the last few months. Most recently, he's expressed interest in investing $400 to $500 million in pro-Zionist Dan Gilbert's real estate ventures. The state of Ohio calls their hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds in Israel a great investment. And you wonder why we don't come up here to talk to you about the problems facing the city. You are the problem in our city. To hold the power to give millions, to a billionaire to build more apartments when we're facing a houselessness crisis, when we're facing an opioid crisis, when there's not money for arts and education, or education in general. There's not money to renovate East Cleveland, or Huff, or the 55th Woodland projects. You don't have any money for that, but we have money to invest in Dan Gilbert, whose brother, mind you, was threatening Palestinian protesters. That's how Zionists they get. They like to threaten protesters. It just seems like investing in your city, investing in your citizens isn't a good enough investment for you. It's not enough to do the right thing.
Time.
It has to line your pockets.
Thank you.
Free Palestine, free all colonized people of this world. I hope y'all grow some spines and stand up for what's right.
Next we have Kimar Tawil. Kamar Tawils from Cleveland. He's here to talk about the ceasefire and not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Kamar.
Bismillah. In the land where my ancestors planted their roots, where the olive trees tell stories of resilience, and where their call to prayer echoes through the air, the cycle of violence has become a haunting reality. Our homes, our communities, and the very essence of our well-being are being torn apart. The images of our children's innocence marred by the scars of conflict, our homes reduced to rubble, and our dreams shattered in the crossfire are etched in all of our hearts. I don't feel safe as a Palestinian. Would any of you? You see all the trauma, all the terror, all over the news, all over social media. You see children calling out to their parents after they have been bombed. You see parents clinging on to the children even though they know that they are dead. You see children being pulled out of rubble. Do you all not have any sympathy at all for any of the people that are being killed right now? We demand for a ceasefire, not out of weakness, but as a desperate plea for humanity. We are not pawns in a political game, but human beings yearning for a chance at a life free from the consistent shadow of war. We implore you to see past the political rhetoric and to recognize the human cost that this conflict has exacted upon us. You all get to leave here, go home to your own little bubble, your own little reality. My reality, I see my people running away and hiding. I see my people being buried in rubble, and I see my people getting killed. I see Palestinians without homes, Palestinians with entire family lines wiped away. I see videos after videos of only Palestinians comforting each other, not any of you. Baby, don't worry, those are fireworks. Baby, don't worry, the world is seeing, the world is watching, the world will help, but will they? We have people like you in our offices that don't want to help at all, and we think that we're going to be helped. For far too long, the aspirations and voices of the Palestinian people have been drowned out by the sounds of war. Our children deserve to live in a world where the sounds of laughter drown out the echoes of gunfire, where the vibrant colors of hope replace the bleakness of destruction. A ceasefire is not just a cessation of hostilities, it is a lifeline for a people who have endured enough pain and loss. Let us not forget that every moment we delay in seeking a resolution prolongs the suffering of innocent lives. You are the people that we elected, that we chose to represent us. Yet here you are making decisions against the people, not even listening to what we have to say. You would rather get a quick pay than make decisions that make sense. Yet you believe that you will be reelected. Do you have no morals or principles? We have came for weeks on end asking for resolutions in hopes any one of you has even the smallest of hearts to not only have sympathy but empathy for what's happening in Palestine. The world is watching and history will judge us based on the actions we take today. Let us be remembered as the generation that chose peace over violence, peace over war, compassion over indifference, and humanity over discord. The time for a ceasefire is now. The people of Palestine deserve nothing less. The same way you demand respect from us, we demand respect from you. You should be paying attention to what we have to say because we are the people that you are supposed to be representing. Free, free Palestine.
Next we have Bayan Tawil from Cleveland. Bayan Tawil from Cleveland. They're here to talk about the ceasefire and not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone.
Bismillah. Good evening. We have been coming for weeks, and you may be tired of hearing us, but we will not stop. My people deserve to be safe, and we will not stop talking or resisting until a resolution is passed for a ceasefire. I am a daughter, I am a sister, but most importantly, I am Palestinian. Something you might not know about Palestinians is that we stand up for what we believe in, and we will continue to resist until we receive justice. Mayor Bibb, Cleveland does not stand with Israel. You do. The amount of protests that you see happening around Cleveland, around Ohio, and around all over the world shows that we do not stand for a genocide. We do not stand for the ethical cleansing, and we most certainly do not stand with Israel. My favorite quote comes from MLK. The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people, which you can question, are they actually considered good? Mayor Bibb, how can it be on the side of Israel? People in Gaza are writing on their hands their names and birthday, so people in Gaza can identify them when they are being bombed. Did you see what they did on Christmas? A Christmas tree was put up and dolls were hung to represent the death of innocent Palestinian babies. Or did you hear about the IDF soldiers that was on the search for babies? Yes. babies to kill. He didn't find any, so instead he killed a 12-year-old Palestinian girl. You know what he was doing while killing her? He was smiling and making a mockery out of all the innocent children that were being murdered every single day. And this is what you support? This is what you'll forever be known for supporting? Wow, simply wow. I actually feel bad for everyone that supports a genocide. You are going down in history for being pro-genocide. I recommend you guys to educate yourself and see what this conflict is about, because October 7th is not the date. This has been happening since 1948. It's not too late to be on the right side. Pass a resolution. Be on the right side of history. The main question asked when interviewing the children in Gaza is, what do you want to be when they grow up? They respond with, why? Why should I think of the future when I don't even know if I'll see tomorrow? What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be alive. How can you act so blind? People are being starved and traumatized. Children are dying from cardiac arrest because of the fear of the genocide. Pass a resolution for a ceasefire and end all the murders that are happening. As we speak to my family and my people, we are Palestinians, and more than 75 years later, we are still fighting. But remember, no one can tear down Palestine, because you can't be a country that will always be protected by Allah. Free, free Palestine!
Next we have Tessa Exwan. Tessa Exwan is from Clark Fulton. And Tessa Exwan is here to talk about the ceasefire resolution. She's from OPAL, Building AAPI Feminist Leadership, and not being paid by anyone.
Hello, my name is Tessa Schwan. I'm a Cleveland resident and the co-director of OPAL. We're a power-building Asian American and Pacific Islander organization with over 300 members across Ohio, including 90 members living in Greater Cleveland. As an AAPI organization whose communities have survived the violence of imperialism, forced migration, and displacement, OPAL stands in solidarity with the Palestinian people, including our Palestinian American OPAL members. I am the child of Chinese immigrants, and like many of my fellow OPAL members and many Clevelanders, my family history has been profoundly shaped by war, occupation, and colonization. Occupation by a foreign power is an injustice and a threat to humanity, no matter where it happens in the world. In the early 1900s, the Imperial Japanese Army invaded and occupied many parts of Asia and the Pacific Islands, including Korea, China, Malaysia, Thailand, Burma, Guam, Fiji, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and the Philippines. My grandfather was forced to flee his hometown as a teenager after he was nearly killed for resisting the system of Japanese domination. My great-grandmother was killed by a Japanese bomb in Shanghai, with my grandma's baby brother sitting in her lap. Japanese soldiers committed countless war crimes during this period of imperial expansion and occupation, killing an estimated 20 million people in China alone. I'm sharing my family's story not to compare it to what Palestinians have gone through, but to say that no land can ever be occupied without dehumanizing the people and children who live there. And the Israeli government has occupied Palestine for 75 years. The Japanese bombers that killed and injured my family members were fueled with American oil. The US was a top exporter for Japan's military, supplying over 50% of their weapons and military supplies until the summer of 1941. The bombs that are killing and dismembering Palestinian families and children at this very moment are also supplied by America. The mass murder and dehumanization and war crimes against Palestinians could not possibly continue without the US providing funding, weapons, and our unconditional political support. Because I know my family's history, I can come to no other conclusion than to support an immediate ceasefire and an end to Israel's unjust occupation. Your constituents, whose families have also survived occupations and genocide and systemic injustice, are watching to see where you stand. We cannot rest while the government that claims to represent us uses our tax dollars to bomb hospitals and schools in Palestine instead of funding healthcare and education here in Cleveland. If you truly represent us, if you truly represent the city of Cleveland and its people, show us where you stand and pass a ceasefire resolution as soon as possible. Thank you.
Next, we have Noel Nasir. Noel is from the Edgewater community, and Noel is here to talk about the ongoing genocide in Palestine and letter to send to council members.
My name is Noel Nasser. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement and also a Cleveland resident. The last time I spoke here at public comment was on October 30th, 2023, the first time we showed a resolution to this council. At the time, we had just reached an estimated 8,000 Palestinians killed, and what was proven to be only the beginning of a never-ending genocide perpetuated by the Israeli government. We are now well over 30,000 murders in the short time span of 3 months, and each day that has gone by without a ceasefire has contributed to this number of people. While many may have gone numb to this ever-growing number, there are real people behind them, as well as real people on the ground right now in Gaza, who after a ceasefire will still be left to work through trauma, illness, grief, and destruction to rebuild their lives. That is, of course, if they're even able to return home, as more than 1.7 million Palestinians have been displaced. As we are witnessing Israel escalate their violence in Palestine and its surrounding areas, we are witnessing anti-Palestinian, anti-Jewish, and anti-Muslim rhetoric and violence rise here in the United States, once again showing how global issues are not so far away or disconnected from us as they may seem. This is why the resolution we have shared explicitly states it as an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, safety, and welfare. During this winter recess, our community has been building relationships and connecting with the Cleveland community, not only through our protests and marches, but through teach-ins, healing circles, and most notably in the community letter you all received via email and in physical form in your mailboxes. Over 80 organizations and businesses in the greater Cleveland area have signed on to this letter asking you to pass a ceasefire resolution. The range of organizations that have signed on make up the beautiful diversity in our city. Churches, various cultural organizations, social justice groups, truly a melting pot of voices of nearly every demographic. The intersectionality of the Palestinian cause touches human rights advocates and people everywhere. This is what real progressive work looks like. I have seen more leadership and advocacy coming from members in this community than I have seen from any of our elected officials. It is the reason I truly believe in the phrase, power to the people, because the people, our community, are the ones who take care of one another when our politicians abandon us. But this start to the new year can be a start and a new chapter. This, again, is another opportunity for you to listen and engage with your constituents and the community that you represent, so that we may move past these basics of something we all should be able to agree on, calling to an end of violence, and can move to creating a world that is safe for all of its members. This starts with passing a ceasefire resolution. Ceasefire now and forever.
Thank you. Next, we have Estelle Raskin from Ward 15 to talk about the ceasefire. And Estelle is from Jewish Voice for Peace and is not being paid by anyone.
I'm here as a Jewish person to stand publicly alongside our Cleveland Palestinian community in our collective, united, and ongoing efforts to demand that the city of Cleveland pass a resolution that calls for an immediate ceasefire, condemns the genocide in Gaza, and condemns rising anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, Islamophobic, and anti-Jewish attacks in our city. On January 1st of this year, the Cleveland Palestinian advocacy community delivered a letter to each member of the council asking for a ceasefire resolution to be introduced and passed. This letter has been signed by over 95 organizations and businesses and over 500 Cleveland constituents. Those numbers are growing as we continue collecting signatures. In these past 3 months, over 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, half of who are children. The New York Times reported that the rate in which Israel is killing civilians in Gaza is substantially higher than in the recent wars in Ukraine, Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. More than twice as many women and children reported killed in Gaza just 7 weeks into the siege, than had been confirmed killed in Ukraine since Russia launched its attack nearly 2 years ago. Let me remind you that within a week of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Cleveland City Council issued a resolution condemning it. Why is it acceptable for Israel to enact this level of devastation? 70+ years of systematically dehumanizing Palestinians to the point where one child being killed in Gaza every 10 minutes is status quo. Just acceptable casualties of war, which break every international rule of war established by the Geneva Convention, including the rule of distinction, targeting military objectives and not civilians or civilian objects. What makes it acceptable for elected leaders to not only ignore but also fund this devastation? This council rushed to condemn the invasion of Ukraine, so why is Gaza not worthy of the council's concern? Golda Meir, the Israeli prime minister between 1969 and 74, famously said that there is no such thing as Palestinians. Does the council also not see Palestinians as fully human and deserving of respect, life, and safety? What I see is an Israeli system deeply rooted in discrimination and oppression that has withheld equal rights and equal protection under the law from Palestinians for over 70 years and is now doing it on a level tantamount to genocide. The human rights organization B'Tselem says that abandoning the basic principle that all human beings were created equal is a loss of humanity. Dear City Council, open your ears and hearts and take into account how deeply impacted our Cleveland communities are by the siege. Our Palestinian, Muslim, Arab, Israeli, and Jewish families are scared and grieving alongside each other. We know that the only way forward is through our shared humanity. May this council learn from the daily courage of its constituents and act with its moral conscience and call for an immediate ceasefire now.
All right, next we have Kobe Picker. Kobe Picker is from Cleveland Heights, and Kobe Picker is here to talk about the war in Palestine and the Jewish Voice for Peace, and he is not being paid by anyone.
My name is Kobe Picker. I'm speaking for Cleveland's chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. I'm also a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, which has signed on to the letter that you've received calling you to pass a ceasefire resolution. I'm not speaking on behalf of DSA tonight. I've seen my Palestinian and Jewish comrades appealing to you week after week to recognize their humanity and to request that you perform your minimal responsibility as leaders in the city of Cleveland. The first time I listened to what they had to say, I decided that I had nothing more to offer. And yet, the weeks go by and council has failed to act. So if you need to hear it from another Jew, let me be that Jew. My message is simple. Show some spine. Pass a ceasefire resolution. Today, it was reported that the Cleveland Jewish Federation has sent you a letter urging you not to do this. As a lifelong member of Cleveland's Jewish community, I am shocked and appalled by the letter, which is full of twisted facts and misinformation, and is diametrically opposed to the Jewish values I taught growing up as a Jewish boy at Jewish institutions that are supported by the Federation in Cleveland. The Federation's role as a hub for funding local Jewish nonprofits has positioned it as a powerful and chilling force in the Jewish community, but they are not a democratic organization. They do not represent me, and they have never represented the full spectrum of Jewish life in this city. Please do not listen to the Federation board members who have told you in their letter that the IDF is taking extraordinary actions to prevent civilian deaths. The IDF itself claimed on October 10th that the focus is on damage and not on accuracy. There is nothing Jewish about killing innocent people, Palestinian or otherwise. Rather, our Judaism directs us to pursue justice. Justice, right now, is a permanent ceasefire resolution. Do not believe the Federation when they tell you that this war is necessary for Jews to be safe here or in Israel. It is not. Rather, my safety as a Jew is inherently bound up with the safety of the Palestinian people. Every gun, tank, and jet the U.S. provides to Israel represents a promise that this conflict will only grow bigger and more permanent in scope. Finally, do not be fooled by those who would claim that recognizing this ongoing atrocity as a genocide is anti-Jewish. In fact, by speaking out against this horror, you would honor Jewish memory. Council, your leadership is needed now. Pass a permanent ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, please read communications.
File number 1-2024 from Cuyahoga County Board of Elections, Certificate of Result of Election on Issue 38 at the election held on November 8, 2023. File number 2-2024 from Council President Blaine Griffin, designating Alan Dreyer to serve as Clerk Pro Tem for all matters December 6 to 8, 2023. File number 3-2024 from Council President Blaine Griffin, designating Alan Dreyer to serve as Clerk Pro Tem for all matters December 22nd, 2023 and January 5th, 2024. File number 65-2024 from Council President Blaine Griffin, designating without objection by Council Alan Dreyer to serve as Clerk Pro Tem for all matters requiring the clerk's signature on January 8, 2024, as well as for the purposes of the Council meeting on January 8, 2024. From the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 4-2024, transfer of ownership application for 9 Mart LLC, 7809 Woodland Avenue. File number 5-2024, transfer of ownership application for Swin LLC, 2044 West 65th Street, Ward 3. File number 6-2024, new license application for Dortch Food and Beverage LLC, 3259 West 25th Street, Ward 14. File number 7-2024, transfer of ownership application for Reliance Express LLC, 11609 Miles Avenue, Ward 2. File number 8-2024, transfer of ownership application for Golden Pantry Cleveland, 1233 Superior Avenue, Ward 9. File number 9-2024, transfer of ownership application for Raza Associates LLC, 14016 Triscuit Road, Ward 17. File number 10-2024, transfer of ownership application for SXS Market Inc., 3590 Bosworth Avenue, Ward 11. File number 11-2024, a new license application for Veronica Smith Investments Inc., 4818 Pershing Avenue in Ward 5. File number 12-2024, transfer of ownership application for Soul Concepts Inc., 627 Prospect Avenue, Ward 3. File number 13-2024, transfer of license application for Chippy's Late Night LLC, 2442 Professor Avenue, Ward 3. File number 66-2024, transfer of ownership application for Soul Concepts Inc., 13225 Shaker Square, Ward 4.
Thank you. Are there any condolence resolutions?
File number 45-2024 for Councilmember Conwell for Bernard Russell. File number 46-2024 by Councilmember Conwell for Rena Sherelle Burton. Resolution number 47-2024 for Councilman Conwell for Sarah Frances Bryant. Resolution number 48-2024 for Councilmember Gray for Deacon Charlie James Berry. Resolution number 49-2024 for Councilmember Gray for April Frances Houston. File number Resolution number 50-2024 for Councilmember Griffin for Paulette Denise Jones. Resolution number 51-2024 for all members of council for Patrol Officer Victor M. Claudio, badge 1563. Resolution number 52-2024 for Councilmember Harrison for Lloyd Stewart Sr. Resolution number 53-2024 for Councilmember Harrison for Elizabeth Lizzie Lipscomb. Resolution 54-2024 for Councilmember Jones for Meddy Z. Fox. Resolution number 55-2024 for Councilmember Zone for Elder Johnny Lois Swanson. Resolution number 56-2024 for Councilmember Jones for L.C. Jones. Resolution number 57-2024 for Councilmember McCormick for Connie Louise Ferris. Resolution number 58-2024 for Councilmember McCormick for John Kampf.
All right. Any other condolences? All right. Any council members rise for a
Council
moment
President,
of silence? Please proceed.
Thank you, Council President. Please add me to 58, 2024 for John Kampf. Thanks, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you. I think that's, everybody totally appreciates that. The service for Mr. Camp, and our prayers are with Paula, his daughter. Councilman Slife.
Yes, also add me on to 58 and then hold out a number for Rita Joyce.
Please hold out a number for Rita Joyce. Councilwoman House Jones.
Can you hold out a number for Willie Lawrence Jr., please?
Okay. Is there anybody else? All right, we'll all rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Are there any congratulatory resolutions?
For Councilmember Griffin, resolution number 59-2024 for Audrey Tidmore. For Councilmember Griffin, resolution number 60-2024 for Anna Lee Young Potillo, 100th birthday. For Councilmember Griffin, resolution number 61-2024 for Bishop Gregory A. Pratt. For Councilmember Spencer, resolution number 62-2024 for retired Lieutenant Michael Bentley. For Councilmember Griffin, resolution of recognition, resolution number 63-2024 for Reverend E. Theophilus Cavaness Sr. For Councilmember Slife, resolution number 64-2024 for Rosemary Moudry.
Thank you. First reading emergency ordinances referred for administrative review and committee review.
Ordinance number 28-2024 by Councilmembers Spelunce, Hairston, Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to accept the donation of real property located at 15610 Waterloo Road from Northeast Shores Development Corporation or its designee to be used for public parking. Ordinance number 29-2024 by Councilmembers McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance accepting the offer of dedication of public right-of-way and public improvements shown on the recorded plat for multi-court. Ordinance number 30-2024 by Councilmembers Spencer, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to change the name of the Lake Park to Lake Pool Park. Ordinance number 35-2024 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend section 131.31 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 99-2021, passed April 19, 2021, relating to Highland Park golf course rates. Ordinance number 36-2024 by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to amend the title, the second whereas clause in sections 1 and 4 of ordinance number 895-2022, passed October 3, 2022, relating to authorizing the Director of City Planning to create the Transformative Arts Project Fund Program, to repeal section 5 and renumber existing section 6 to new section 5. Ordinance number 37-2024 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works on behalf of the Office of Sustainability to apply for an accepted grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for Ohio's Urban Forestry Grant Program, and authorizing the Director to enter into one or more requirement contracts for labor and materials needed for urban forestry services, including but not limited to maintaining and planting trees, removing trees, stumps, and tree waste material. Ordinance number 38-2024 by Councilmembers Hairston Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance establishing the shore to core to shore TIF district, declaring improvements to certain parcels of real property within that district to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, describing the public infrastructure improvements to be made to directly benefit the district, requiring the owners of the improvements on such parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, providing for the distribution of those service payments to the Cleveland Municipal School District and to one or more funds established by the city to hold those service payments, determining that satisfactory provision has been made for the public improvement needs of the district, and specifying other public improvements that are in support of urban redevelopment within the city. Ordinance number 39-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Human Resources to employ one or more professional consultants to provide recruitment and staffing services, including consulting and direct recruitment for a period of 1 year, with 3 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Human Resources. Ordinance number 40-2024 by Councilmember Griffin. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Clerk of Council to enter into an agreement with Western Reserve Land Conservancy doing business as Thriving Communities Institute to provide professional services regarding reforestation, demolition and rehabilitation, green space restoration, vacant land restoration, and property information and code enforcement.
Thank you. First reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance number 14-2024 by Councilmembers McCormick, Starr, and House Jones. An emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Chili Bowl Classic 5K on February 24, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 15-2024 by Councilmembers McCormick and Spencer. An emergency ordinance authorizing an emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Cleveland 10 Miler on April 27, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 16-2024 by Councilmember McCormick, an emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Cleveland Cocoa Run, February 17, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 17-2024 by Councilmember Spencer, an emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Donut Worry Run Happy 5K on October 19, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 18-2024 by Councilmember McCormick, an emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the O-Rock event on August 3, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 19-2024 by Councilmember McCormick. Emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Parrot Head Run on July 20, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 20-2024 by Councilmember McCormick. An emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Cleveland St. Patrick's Day Run on March 17, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 21-2024 by Councilmember McCormick. An emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the T.J. Carey Heart Warrior 5K and 1 mile, June 1, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 22-2024 by Councilmember Spencer. Emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Treat Yourself 5K on April 21, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 23-2024 by Councilmember McCormick. An emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the annual Cleveland Turkey Trot on November 28, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 24-2024 by Councilmembers McCormick and Spencer, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Westside Catholic Center Pancake Run event on June 1, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 25-2024 by Councilmember McCormick, an emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Will Run for Tacos 5K event on July 13, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 31-2024 by Councilmember Griffin, an emergency ordinance to amend Section 4 of Ordinance number 194-2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended relating to salaries for various classifications. Ordinance number 32-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend Sections 8 and 16 of Ordinance number 194-2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended relating to salaries for various classifications. Ordinance number 33-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance approving the collective bargaining agreement with the Stage Employees Local 27 of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees and to amend Section 47 of Ordinance number 194-2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended, relating to salaries for various classifications. Ordinance number 41-2024 by Councilmember Griffin, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Clerk of Council to enter into an agreement with Guy Godomsky for professional financial advisory services related to the 2024 city budget estimate for Cleveland City Council. Ordinance number 42-2024 by Councilmember Gray, an emergency ordinance to amend Section 3 of Ordinance number 1037-2023, passed September 18, 2023, relating to the agreement with Cleveland State University Center for Economic Development for the Ward Ford Asset Assessment and Planning Project. Ordinance number 43-2024 by Councilmember Starr. Emergency ordinance to amend Sections 2 and 3 of Ordinance number 1038-2023, passed September 18, 2023, relating to the agreement with Cleveland State University Center for Economic Development for the Ward 5 Asset Assessment and Planning Project. Ordinance number 44-2024 by Councilmember Conwell. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of the Department of Community Development to enter into agreement with Western Reserve Historical Society for the public purpose of providing the History, Harmony, and Hope art exhibit through the use of Ward 9 casino revenue funds.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Councilmember Santana that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage. Seconded by Councilmember Bishop.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormick, Polancic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polancic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. On On ordinance 33, 2024, 15 yeas, no nays, 1 recusal. On all the others, 16 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. First reading emergency ordinances referred for administrative review and committee review.
Ordinance number 34-2024 by Councilmember Spencer. An ordinance establishing a 0-foot map building setback on the western side of West 65th Street and establishing a 3-foot map building setback on the south side of Father Caruso Drive, north of Breakwater Avenue, map change 2672.
First reading emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution number 26-2024 by Councilmember Santana. An emergency resolution objecting to the new C1 liquor permit at 3259 West 25th Street. Resolution number 27-2024 by Councilmember Starr. An emergency resolution objecting to the transfer of ownership of a C2 and C2X liquor permit to 7809 Woodland Avenue, Unit A.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Councilmember Santana that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed in final passage. Seconded by Councilmember Bishop.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormick, Blansick, Santana, Slight, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on adoption.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormick, Blansick, Santana, Slight, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. Are there any introductions? Any introductions? Seeing no introductions, are there any announcements? Any announcements? Seeing no announcements, miscellaneous. Councilwoman Moore, and Councilwoman Moore has asked for a couple of additional moments.
Thank you. Good evening. If I'm not mistaken, Council President, we won't be here next week as we will be off for the remembrance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wanted to make sure that I had my dates right. And, you know, as we mark these days on the calendar, especially as we get into my third term in office, I try to find certain cadences or moments that I can kind of come back to as touchstones year over year. And for many years on MLK Day, I reread a letter from a Birmingham jail, which is, I think, how many people recognize the day or find some time to think about our history and the incredible struggle for civil rights that reverberates today. And then my first year in office, I actually spent a little bit of time digging. I was looking for something a little bit with more bite than that letter from a Birmingham jail. And I came across an old op-ed from the Plain Dealer, Wednesday, April 19th, 1967, Martin Luther King's mistake. Thinking a little bit about people who we valorize now, who we hold up as our heroes, who were not recognized in their time, who were struck down, who said we're to be too extremist, doing too much, fighting for things that were beyond what they should be fighting about. And this is, of course, if you know the history, April 19th, that's a day, 2 days after Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at a rally on the National Mall against the Vietnam War. And it was 2 weeks after he spoke in a church in New York against the Vietnam War, drawing the parallel lines from his first church in Montgomery to that moment at the Riverside Church in New York City in his speech, Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break the Silence. These days, it's considered, depending on who you are, either his most controversial speech or his most important speech, the time when he connected our fight domestically for civil rights, for racial justice, to the international fight for residents of Vietnam, for civilians, for those who were being bombed and being killed, for those who were not being represented domestically, for the men being asked to fight abroad. And so this year, instead of rereading a letter from a Birmingham jail, I reread this speech, which is a little bit hefty, but I recommend that you take a little bit of time to read it. And so even if you don't, I'm going to take a little bit of time now to read the last few paragraphs of the speech. This call for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concern beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation is in reality a call for an all-embracing and unconditional love for all men. This oft misunderstood and misinterpreted concept, so readily dismissed by the Nietzsches of the world as a weak and cowardly force, has now become an absolute necessity for the survival of man. When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am speaking of that force which all of the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality. This Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist belief about ultimate reality is beautifully summed up in the first epistle of St. John. Let us love one another, for love is God, and even that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Let us hope that this spirit will become the order of the day. We can no longer afford to worship the God of hate or bow before the altar of retaliation. The oceans of history are made turbulent by an ever-rising tide of hate. History is cluttered with the wreckage of nations and individuals that pursued this self-defeating path of hate. As Arnold Toynbee said, love is the ultimate force that makes for the saving choice of life and good against the damning choice of devil and evil. Therefore, the first hope in our inventory must be the hope that love is going to have the last word. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is still the thief of time. Life often leaves us standing bare, naked, and dejected with a lost opportunity. The tide in the affairs of men does not remain at the flood. It ebbs. We must cry out desperately for time to pause in her passage, but time is deaf to every plea and rushes on. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residue of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, "Too late." There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. We still have a choice today, nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. Now, let us begin. Let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world. This is the calling of the sons of God, and our brothers wait eagerly for our response. Shall we say the odds are too great? Shall we tell them the struggle is too hard? Will our message be that the forces of American life militate against their arrival as full men and we send our deepest regrets? Or will there be another message of longing, of hope, of solidarity with their yearning, of commitment to their cause, whatever the cost? The choice is ours, and though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of our history.
Councilman Kevin Conwell.
As I talked about this earlier today, and I passed out these flyers to my colleagues. You know, we talk about crime in the city, and we talk about it, and we sit at the table and we discuss it. The Mayor Bibb, is giving a hiring event this Friday, and it's always great when you can put people to work. I believe in the power of work. It's how you keep crime down in the community. It's how you keep crime down in the community when you put people to work. It's how, when you look at families, you keep families together when you put people to work. I believe in the power of work. Matter of fact, my people walked the streets this weekend and we dropped 1,700 of these flyers door to door. That's how I believe in the power of work. And I want them to come down to get a job. That's very important. As a matter of fact, even while I was here today, some of my people were out dropping flyers and talking with residents so they could come to the job fair. This hiring event is Friday, January the 12th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at the City of Cleveland, City Hall Rotunda. Some of my colleagues said this. Human Resource Director, where are you at? They said, can you email this flyer to them and they'll get it out to their residents? If you email it to them, I gave the one in Spanish to Santana, Councilwoman Santana also. So we will constantly keep passing these out. I think that the next one you do is good to have one probably every semi-annually because hiring is ongoing. We gotta constantly keep hiring people. I think that we could have someone there to expunge records. Would be great. A person who's not talking with me now, she used to do that for me when I used to do job fairs. That was Brenda Bickerstaff. She used to expunge the guys' records so they could get jobs, so we could bring them there as well as work with the sewer district so that we could, when we fight poverty, that we can help people to get their utility bills paid or downsized. So that way we could do an energy and resource job fair together semi-annually. So I will keep passing this out until the 12th. And let me say this in my conclusion. If one person get a job, the entire city benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Clerk, please excuse the absences. There are none? All right. Seeing that there are no absences, the next meeting for council will be on January 22nd, 2024. Thank you. This committee is adjourned.